So here we go. We're talking about the trusting the inner knowing, but of course, being able to use the intellect empirically is also important. You need to check the figures as real. You need KPIs as real measurement to go, yeah, but you also need to be able to touch in. And sometimes in our culture as human beings, we tend to lean either one way or the other too much. In this journey, there is a part of you developing a set of skills over time, which never stops, of fine-tuning your sense of knowing, fine-tuning the non-empirical, and tuning into the wisdom kingdom that is there for us to tap into. It's just that you've got to practice it. And with breath and with awareness and stillness, meditation, ice baths, we learn to control the emotion, control the nervous system, control the pH, and fine-tune that mind. As you do that, I just want you to look at the history of this year gone by. Of course, we're at the latter end of it. And just notice the results you got and just understand, especially what appears to be the really good ones. The really good ones we judge as the ones that got the result we wanted. The really bad results are the ones that didn't get the result we want, but they're not actually bad results. They're just where we need to make an adjustment and or understand or learn. They're not bad results. They're disappointing in that I really wanted that, but then during the loss of the grand final, and you sit there like you watch the teams that have lost versus the team that just won, and it's elation and running around like idiots, but just so elated because they've worked so hard all year. Everyone has. But there's one that gets it, and then there's that sits there and goes into the Greek thinking position and contemplates the tiredness, the struggle, and the disappointment. Bugger, we didn't get it this year. But inside that journey between then and the next game is the learning field, the thought field, the practice, the reflection, the watching games. Where did we go wrong? What could we do different? Where could we be better? And all of that. And so as you reflect on your year, 224, and of course, the huge journey that led to that, which was your life, look at all of that and go, good result, bad result, or all good result. I prefer you to consider it as all good results, some of them not as easy to handle. Those of you that have done things like Kokoda, or climb mountains, or gone out with a startup and tried to start something and then failed or appeared to fail, those that got retrenched, those that lost, those that fell, those that lost a partner, is just looking and going, okay, ouch, fuck. And then sitting still and looking and going, if I look at the hardship in my life, each of you just reflect on it without wallowing, just look at the hardship. The thing here, but I want you to really notice the hardship is the learning ground. Sometimes it appears as insanely unfair and hard, and I don't know if I've got any more to keep going, etc., etc. But if you now go into the inner knowing, you've always got more. And there is a golden artifact, chalice, jewel sitting in you that is able to be drawn on. So now as you start to draw your breath into the big breath or the tumo breath, start to breathe into the jewel and breathe in with the awareness that you never failed. That which was difficult this year was not a failure. But without pushing it aside and being overly optimistic, just looking and going, it was hard and I did fall and it did bruise me and I am bleeding. Or I am standing on top of the podium going, yeah, in a moment of relief, in a moment of joy, and a moment of we did it, well deserved. But the one who didn't get up to that place on the podium didn't fail. It's just that it's not their turn on the podium. And if you look at the history, you'll see you had turns on a podium and you had turns in what appeared to be the contemplative position of we didn't succeed at this year or this moment. Or in the really harsh, I lost all of that, my business, my marriage, I went through the valley of death. And you shake yourself off and sit there and say, oh, whoa, oh my God, and breathe. Till you get to your silent still. And then sit in the stillness and awareness and quiet contemplation, bringing your pH into balance, bringing your awareness into balance, and thank all of it. Thank all of it. The good, the bad, the ugly. And here's the caveat. with failing, or what appears to be we didn't get what we wanted. It's not a failure, but there is a library to go to. There is a history and a reflection. There is a learning to find. There is wisdom to find. And so the win of what appears as failure is as big as the win standing on the gold medal position on the podium. If you get the learning, the gold medal is just as significant. You get that learning and you just go, got it. And next time you run out on the field of life, as you run another breath, you've got gold medals all over your chest. And instead of putting it in a shallow breath or in a pain or an anxiety, just go disappointment. Okay, bugger, I thought we were going to nail it this year. Bugger, I thought we would have dealt with it or got the result by now. Go to the library, the inner library. Go to someone and talk about it. Reflect, make notes, explore. What do we need to learn? And there's a gold medal there. And there's a gold medal on all the podiums. The only place where failure can exist is if you walk away, not look for the learning, and then get drunk on the last time you got a gold medal on the podium. And say, I remember the good old days. I remember when we won. I remember that big. That's when you screw up. But there's always the opportunity to go, whoa, where are we going here? Now, here's the twist for you for the beautiful breath into your jewel. Then look at others who appear to be winning. Look at others who appear to be failing and take off judgment, take off criticism, and just look and go, they're somewhere in the dance. And if they've walked away, just put your arm around them and say, hey, where are you going? What are you doing? I know you're tired. I know it's hard. I know it looks like it's failed. I know it looks impossible. But get back on that bloody track. Sure, you might need a new pair of running shoes. Sure, the ball might need blowing up. It's got no bounds. You might need to change some of the team. You might need to do some hard stuff. You might need to make some hard decisions. But if you want to get your spoils, there's two wins. There's two gold medals. One is for getting the learning from the failure. Two is getting the gold medal from the win and celebrating. But even then, there's a learning in both. But there's a celebration in both also. If you get the learning and you're talking to your team and you go, you know what? We're going to hand you each a gold medal for staying in the game, for figuring out the learning, and then for applying the learning and embracing it and integrating it as wisdom. Remember, wisdom is not knowledge. Wisdom is knowledge applied. There's a whole lot of people out there with a bucket load of wisdom, and you can hear them telling everyone, or standing on a podium or a lecture theatre at a university. But you'll see greatness when you see wisdom applied. Walking their talk. So as you contemplate that and come into yourself, look at your year. Good job. Well done. I am so proud of you guys. Each one of you is magnificent. To me, wealthy in every way. Remember, if you lack something in your view of yourself or your world, you're not there yet. You haven't failed. You just haven't knocked that over yet. You haven't won that one yet. It's okay. It's fun. Tiring sometimes. Cold, sleeping out in the desert at night sometimes. Being shipwrecked, whatever. Standing alone when your partner walks out, or some of those stories that people face. Being invited into the boss's office, or being told that we're going to have to let you go. Hard moments. Or when you look at your partner and you go, I've just found out that you've been robbing me all these years. Your best mate. But if you look really closely, You go, I trusted you, but I trusted you blindly. I didn't come in close enough to my business. I didn't look. I just said, oh, you can do that. Part of me said, I trust you, but a part of me thought, I don't have to do that. I don't have to worry about that. I'll get someone else to do what I don't really like doing. And you took your eye off the ball and you suffered it. So remember, trust in God and lock up your camels. Pay attention, be across it, look around. I can't see the KPIs. I just want to see measurement. Can we put some in place? Show me the numbers, show me the figures, show me the truth. So as you look at your life now, look at 224 and look at the truth as you breathe again. Jack Nicholson said, you can't handle the truth. Sometimes the truth's hard to look at. You don't want to look at it. Sometimes you don't want to have to go into your business late at night. Sometimes you don't want to do that. Sometimes you don't want to do the hard stuff. But when you do, you're going into that library and looking at the truth. So I'm going to use a metaphor that is happening in our world at the moment. It's always happened, but it's really prominent at the moment. And it's about corruption at the highest levels. Corruption in banks, corruption in companies, corruption between corporates and governments, all of that. We all know. We all know. And it's sort of sad, but there's a thing that's saying absolute power absolutely corrupts. During the Second World War, there were horrendous things happening in the prison camps and everywhere else. How can a man do that to another man? How could you do that to children? How could you do that to anyone? And so they set these experiments up at Princeton University. I've studied them. And as you probably know, they took a group of people, random students on the campus, and they put them in an experiment. Some of them they made guards, some of them they made prisoners. And the experiment was designed to last a couple of weeks. It lasted a few days, and they had to call it off because the guards got to be out of control. And so we learned in psychology that if you give a human absolute power, in other words, above reproach, something happens when there's no accountability. Something happens where he starts to get drunk with it, and we see it at the highest levels. So if you give people too much power, if you give them too much say, if you don't make them accountable to KPIs, accountable to, please explain, please show me. If you don't walk the floor of your factory, if you don't check, if you don't look at the books, if you don't have a look and you empower others to the point where they know you're not looking, something happens. Not to everybody, but there is a propensity to get a little casual. And then a little casual gets a little sloppy. And then a little sloppy gets a little bit, I can come in a bit later. I can leave a bit earlier. Oh, I'll do that tomorrow. Oh, I'll just take that little bit of money out of the trust account. I'll put it back. I know a good horse bait. And we all know what happens. So as you look at it, the magic of accountability, the magic, now here comes the big one, the magic of accountability for yourself. So when we look in the mirror, we see the truth of him or her. I'm not sure if you can say him or her anymore, but anyway, you can look at them, look at yourself in the mirror and go, where am I bullshitting myself? Where am I not looking? Where am I pretending? Where am I avoiding? Not to beat yourself up, just to be accountable. Accountability brings great results, but not so accountable that it's anal and it's fascist and you can't move. Not where you shut people down where they can't tell their truth. Not where you can't be called on. What's happening in the world today with shutting down free speech. Not sure where your opinion is around all of that, but you've got to be really careful that if you can't be accounted for, if you don't have to justify yourself, that's what happens to kings. The absolute power of a king. And then he's in hedonism. He's in absolute do what I like, I don't care. So as you look at accountability, look at 224 Look at taking responsibility as you envisage going forward and say, where could I tighten up my KPIs? Where can I tighten up my accountability? Where can I be brave enough to call somebody on something I'm scared to call them on because they tend to react? I'm a bit scared of their reaction. I don't like conflict. If you don't like conflict, a part of you doesn't want to stand strong in your position, your authority to be you, and you get pushed around and you get mad and frustrated and feel bullied. So as you check it all now, run another breath and touch into the jewel, touch into the authority, altering your own script, and then walk your fence line, walk your system, your business, your private life, your money, your relationships, your parenting, your friendships, your world, your insurances. Check your system. One of my best mates in the past, and I was standing at his funeral, and his wife was there, and the two gorgeous kids, and all our friends. And Jenny had never really had to work apart from when she was really young, and he had gone and he had a car crash. And she opened the drawer and showed me a check and a form to fill out to the insurance guy. And she had no life insurance because she found it in the fishing drawer. Next minute, she was working, not bad to have a job, but at Myers, working as an assistant at Myers. This beautiful woman who had not only lost her husband, she didn't have enough money. And both the insurance guy, whoever it was, didn't push hard enough, didn't say, where the fuck, didn't come in and say, I need to get that. And he didn't follow it through and make sure it was in place. And then the moment came, and we all know these moments about those stories. So just check, where have you this year and in the past not stood your ground, just to check the system, in your authority for what's right? Not in an arrogant way, just responsible and accountable. Where have you not stood your ground? Where have you allowed a value to be violated? Where have you not stood strong on your value? Where have you not walked the floor from your party because they aren't the party you joined when you were younger? Where have you stood your ground and stood up to the CEO, the boss, your partner, in both privately? And as you look at all of this, I want you to check your system and look at all the gold medals. The gold medals of what appears to be losing. We didn't get the result you wanted yet. And when you're on the podium, the gold medal. 2 gold medals, gold medal of wisdom, being honest enough to look closely at what the learnings are from what appears to be failure. Most magical thing, failure. It's where the wisdom is. Failure is where the library of wisdom exists. You can't walk into the library of wisdom unless you've failed at something or it's not working. There's no wisdom standing on the podium of winning. Sometimes winning's a little too easy for the naturals. Not a good lesson. It's like when you win at gambling and saying, oh, wow, and you get drunk on it. And you think, I'll do that again, I'll do that again. So as you check now, breathe in and look at 224. Here we are, December. Oh my God. TikTok, Christmas is coming. Trees are up, kids are excited, schools are finishing, tinsel everywhere. It's a time to celebrate or commiserate. Christmas is not always a happy place for everybody. But if you were to make it the most happy it's ever been for you, because you get the library of wisdom and where it is, and you get the podium where you've gone, nailed it. But I hope where you nailed success in winning, you got all the wisdoms that led up to it, all the journeys, because that's why the champagne flies at the Formula One or Bathurst. That's why there's such elation and a leaping in the air. It's not just the moment you won. It's what it took. It's the times in the library of wisdom you had to go there and cry or tired or just exhausted or disappointed. But when you stand up there holding that gold because you went to the library over and over again and got that gold. So for history, could you now take that gold medal and put them on the wall of your beautiful journey? So go to the place where those gold medals might be gathering dust in some box, or you didn't even know they existed, and get those medals out and polish them and put them on the wall next to the ones where you won. Well done. You get all the beautiful accolades, parts of teams that are winning teams. They didn't win every game. And the great teams learn from their losses, what appeared as losses. And the great players humbly, quietly go, it was a good game, but gee, they played well. We won and they lost, but not really. It was so close. Because they know that everyone's a winner on that field. But there's a day that goes to you. So if you're sitting in the library at the moment in your life, or if you're sitting on the podium, or parts of your life are in the library, and parts of your life are on the podium of winning, smile. Look around and go, how cool is this? What a far out journey. Wow, I'm alive, I'm human, and now go into the heart coherent breath and just slowly breathe in and out if you're not already. And look at this week before you. I don't know when you're stopping for Christmas. Having a rest. Don't know if you already have, but just look around and notice with gratitude the blessed life you have. Amazing. And for you as parents, be very careful not to rescue your kids too much. Push them into the library of wisdom. If they're hurting, if they've got to learn, they've got to figure it out. If they've got a bruise or a weeping wound, tell them the story about the gold medals, the two of them, 2 gold medals, because they're magical. But in our culture, until we really learn, the gold medals from the Library of Wisdom are not often known about. And we somehow construe it as failing, and not good enough, and not smart enough, and all of that shit. To say that's not what failure's for. It's a special library. And in the intuition and the breath and the deep part of you, allow yourself to connect again with the deep wisdom. Turn the other cheek when it's hard, when it's brutal. Not to give up, not to give in, not to be weak, but to go, I need to go to the library. I need to learn from this. So all the times you've gotten a result you didn't want, just recognize it for what it was. It was just an invitation to that magical library. And if you look at the lines of people going into that library, it's a much longer line than the line on the top of the podium. They're special moments. Everyone's been on that podium, but not as easily. The other podium is more crowd, not because they're failing, because they're amazing. And they're researching, like going through a PhD or an undergraduate degree or trying to get an honors degree. Tired, feeling like you're past your use-by date, so tired. And there's more years to go where you've got to study, exams, too much assignment. That's a bit like life. So as you reflect on you now, breathing gently into you, allow yourself to recognize you and imagine you were the little child at the beginning. And just look them and bring them before you and talk to them about the Library of Wisdom and the podium and the 2 gold medals and say, this is the journey. And you'll find yourself in this line many times. And those that aren't in the library are not getting it. And it might look all good. It might look all shiny. But I'm in the business over 30 years of knowing the truth behind that facade. So if you're not failing, so to speak, you're not succeeding. Because the only way to succeed is to go to the library. And if you find yourself in the library, you're on the way to successes more and more because you understand. On that note, Bring your awareness to the room. And congratulations on this year's breath work, on all the stuff you do, wherever you do it. There's so much good stuff going on around the planet.